Hello everyone, we are live Sports Bet Daily. It's Friday, May 17th, and we are joined by the one and only whale capper from the funny perfect weather in California. It's funny because it's always great, and I cannot be there daily to join Whale and to stay to drink some beer together. But I think that one day we will be there. Hi Whale, what's up, man?
Hey man, how we doing on this beautiful Friday? Great to see you again. Haven't talked since probably the Australian
Australian
Open,
Open.
right?
Yes, Australian Open, exactly.
What have been your major takeaways of the tennis season so far?
Yeah, the clay favorites, my favorite surface, Roland Garros knocking at our doors here just 1 week and few days away, but very important tournament in Rome. Very interesting tournament, full filled with many upsets, with many crazy stuff happening. Osaka out, walkover. Wozniacki injured. Serena walkover. Federer walkover. Ostapenko injured. Simona got injured in the last set against Vondrusova. Nick Kyrgios did a Nick Kyrgios once again yesterday and got fined 20,000 euros, minus 45 points. He had to pay for his hotel. He lost all the money for the tournament. This is a crazy tournament just before the Roland Garros. What is happening, Wilder?
Man, great question. People showed up in Rome and lost their minds. I don't know. Like the tennis schedule, real quick. The tennis schedule this time of year is real tough on the player, right? Like you got back-to-back Madrid and Rome. These are big time tournaments worth a ton of points, worth a ton of money. They come on the tail of two other tight tournaments, and a lot of these guys played Monte Carlo. They played Barcelona. Some of them went to Munich. Some of them went to Estoril in Portugal, and now Madrid, and now Rome. I mean, this is a grind. It's for sure. It's very tough on these players to kind of stay, keep their heads together. And sure enough, they all landed in Rome, and they all lost their damn minds. It didn't
Most
help
of all,
that
Kyrgios.
it's crazy. It didn't help that there was a ton of rain earlier this week, and so it really compressed the schedule, and it made a very tough tournament even tougher.
Yeah,
Rome is one of
some
my
players,
favorites.
many players played 2 matches in one day after that rain delay in the
Yeah,
previous on Tuesday.
yeah, and for those players who weren't as good as Nadal got a chance to. He basically was like, okay, look, like I can win these matches. I cannot be afforded the opportunity to kind of work myself into form here. I just need to get out there and take care of business and play full throttle out of the gate. And we saw it. He was able to pull it off. He broke like mad a couple matches in a row, kept his total time on court down. That was very valuable, and that absolutely gives him a huge advantage in the semifinals and finals.
Baggled Verdasco, baggled
Boom,
Basilashvili, baggled
boom,
Jeremy
boom,
Shardy, three
boom,
baggled,
boom. Yes,
boom. He's
he's
on the roll, baby.
yeah, he's just out there laying waste to these guys. It's incredible to watch it. And I talked about this with Natalie last week. It is super important for him to pick up a title before we get to Roland Garros. He has not won a single title on clay this season, which is huge. He has never won Roland Garros with at least making a final on before getting there,
Absolutely.
and he has not made a final on clay so far this season, which is wild. That puts an enormous amount of pressure on him tomorrow to beat Stefanos Tsitsipas.
Yeah,
Tsitsipas
by
got a
the way,
day off
I
today
wanted
because
to ask you that. I
Federer.
wanted to ask you. Tsitsipas
Yeah,
just won, just beat him in Madrid a few weeks ago.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that is a lot of pressure for Nadal. Yes, but
Yeah, one
he
week
seems
ago.
to be on
1 week
fire.
ago. Yeah,
Yeah, 1 week ago.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, this is the best betting opportunity you're going to see in tennis all week is Nadal tomorrow and taking revenge on Tsitsipas. Okay, and this is why I love this angle. So Tsitsipas got the day off today because Federer pulled out. Okay, that obviously that gives Tsitsipas a little extra rest. People are over counting that. They are taking way more account of that than they ought to. What you really and they look at last week's result. Nadal lost to Tsitsipas. Nadal played very poorly in that match. I don't think Tsitsipas won that match as well as Nadal lost it. And Nadal is now on a slower surface in Rome than they had in Madrid. Lower elevation, serve matters less. He has the game. He has the tools to absolutely paddle Tsitsipas, make him pay, take some revenge. I love Nadal 2-0 in this look. I love his money line. I think that's depressed. I think it should be more like around -600. I'm seeing -385 right now. That makes for a great money line parlay leg or an ACA for you folks in Rome. That's a great ACA leg. So I personally think Nadal gets it done in style tomorrow, punches his first clay final of the season, which is insane to say out loud. But he's gonna end up in the finals here, and he probably wins this title. I think. I think it's very important for his confidence to get a championship before he heads to Roland Garros. Otherwise, everybody in that tournament's going to be like, maybe I can get this guy. Maybe this is the year I can finally get this guy. If you're Nadal, you're not seeded first. Djokovic is going to be seeded first. You haven't won a title.
Absolutely.
That's a freaking problem. Like you do not want to give the field the mental, you don't want to give them space in your head, man. Do not give them that space. Make them
bagel
them
all. Bagel them all.
Exactly. Bagel. The double bagel is in play tomorrow.
Listen, what is very strange here
bagel.
about the odds for this match. Very, very strange. You mentioned 2-0, 1.71 with Unibet, 1.66 with the Bet 365. What is very strange?
Terrible prices.
1 week ago in Rome, 1 week ago in Rome, Tsitsipas was priced at 6.3. Now Tsitsipas is priced at 4.3. So you mentioned the difference on the surface, which actually is in favor of Nadal in Rome. And the odds are shorter for Tsitsipas than they were 1 week ago in Madrid. This is crazy. Yeah. So let's take him from today, as you say, 1.71 to 0 for Nadal, as you said.
This is a classic. Market has overreacted incredibly here. It's just a gross overreaction. Ride Nadal as long as you'll get a favorable price on him. I like him to win Rome.
Absolutely. Okay, let's go on to the women's. Your favorite player,
real
Kiki
quick before
Bertens,
moving off of the men's. Do you have a take on Del Potro Djokovic? Do you think Del Potro can compete? He looks damn good this week.
I wanted to ask you that at the end of our segment.
I kind of think he does.
I wanted to let the good stuff for the end.
If anyone's watching and they want to get a little bit of tennis action in today, I don't want them to miss the start of the match because I think it's going to start pretty soon. I kind of like Del Potro to compete. I like +5. Is that evens right now? That's a very favorable price. I think Del Potro could absolutely steal the first set. I think he could take a set in this one. I don't think that this is pricing his chances very fairly. Surely Djokovic is likely to advance, and I don't know that I would advocate backing Del Potro to win outright. I mean, if you're feeling lucky, if you're feeling frisky on a Friday and you want to get a little crazy, there's value in his money line. But I love +5 at +100. This has every making of a 6-4, 4-6, 6-3 kind of a match. I don't think that Del Potro is going to be an easy out at all.
Let's do +4.5 at +138 with the Unibet or in European odds.
I like that
plus 2.38. This is amazing.
Like
you can bet minus, how is +1 no, this is I was thinking for Del Potro to take a set from Djokovic there. Money line right now at +600, 7.0 in European odds. Also over 20.5 games in the match at 1.8. Very, very good odds indeed also there. So minus 115. I think that in US odds. Yeah, I think that it will be an interesting match. Del Potro is back and kicking before the Roland Garros.
Yeah. Del Potro is fresh. There's not a ton of tape on how he is. There's not a lot of game tape for Djokovic to really know and understand and study his clay approach right now. And Djokovic just went to the finals, won the finals in Madrid. He has had to play, forced himself to have to play harder than he would have liked to this point in this tournament. So he's burned a little extra gas than he would have liked. There's a lot of things that this Italian crowd, they love
crazy, man.
I mean, they are going to be rocking tonight for Juan Martín. Love his chances to be competitive in this one, and I got some action sprayed all across the handicap and totals. You laid out all those prices. I like them all. Pick your favorite flavor and enjoy the match.
Yeah, because most of these players, the big ones from top 20, they will have a day off, I think, a week off next week, because we have
That's right.
ATP Geneva, ATP Lyon, WTA Nuremberg and Strasbourg, and most of the big names are out. They are preparing for Roland Garros. But exactly, we are going now to the WTA, to the women's tournament in Rome, with your favorite Kiki Bertens there. Oh man, she's great. You are talking about her for the last I don't know 2-3 weeks now, and she has one day off today because Osaka walkover. I think that would be a great match. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Do you have an pick for her to win Rome, or you didn't went there?
I didn't take it, but I wish I had. I took Kiki Bertens to win Roland Garros at about 15-1 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I don't know what the current price is. It's probably come down since she beat Halep pretty convincingly in the final in Madrid. That was a surprising result. I thought that was going to be a lot more competitive match, but Kiki Bertens was on that day. She had her absolute A+ game. And she is going to be a force in Roland Garros if she has any of that left. The problem with a lot of the women's tennis players is you don't see consistency last 2-3 weeks like this. And so I'm getting a little concerned that Kiki Bertens is making another run. If she wins Rome, then the likelihood that she turns around and wins Roland Garros, in my opinion, is pretty low. She will have expended a ton of fuel to pick up these two titles. Madrid is a very, very impressive and important win. Rome is a very impressive and important win. Both a lot of money, a lot of points. The idea that she then maintains that same level for another 3 weeks with a week off and then 2 weeks of Roland Garros, that's a stretch. I think she peaked last week and this week. She might win this title. But I got to say, you can't sleep on Kiki Mladenovic. I don't really know where this form came from, but she is playing very, very, very well.
I'm sure that one of the main reasons is that she has now the trainer that Osaka used to have. I forgot his name, and is with the Badgin. I don't remember. This is that guy is her trainer for the last 10 weeks or something like that. So that is very important for us to know, because her level of tennis is unbelievable in the last 2 weeks. Sasha Bashin, I think.
That explains a lot. Wow. Okay. I didn't pick that up. I didn't know that nugget. That's fascinating, and that makes me like Kiki even more. Not just I think Rome final, you're going to see Kiki versus Kiki. But that actually makes me circle Mladenovic for Roland Garros, because I don't want to say it as an accusation per se, but Osaka's
51 for Roland Garros. 51 for Roland Garros. 91 with the Unibet. 91.
Oh my goodness! Get that and put it in your pocket ASAP. That is going to be so great to have if she can make a quarterfinal, semifinal run. That is a great number. That coach, the coach you're referring to, has a knack for getting the best out of the player in terms of stamina, in terms of strength. They don't burn out as often. They can last a little bit longer. They can play a 2-week tournament that's high pressure and not get run down. And if that's the Kiki Mladenovic we see in Roland Garros, she's going to be tough to beat, because that is typically, why I don't like her as a in the futures market, is because she does get run down. But I saw some of the Instagrams of her. She was looking ripped. She's looking strong. She's going to be a force in 2 weeks.
Dominic Thiem is next to her also, so that is a nice thing.
Some
odds from Roland Garros. By the way, I wanted to ask you. Yes, you mentioned Kiki Bertens. She's playing Joanna Konta tomorrow. But the odds, I don't like the odds. I hate the odds. Minus 4.5 on the Asian handicap, just at even money. I was expecting more. I don't know. Vondrushova to lose against Konta today, it was a surprise for me after she won the second time this year against Simona Halep. I hate to say that, but this is the truth. Mladenovic seems able to take care of business against Maria Sakkari. 7-5, 2-1 with break in the second set as we speak. Go Mladenovic, for sure she will play against Karolina Pliskova. A wonderful match against Pliskova, against Azarenka. You mentioned about the odds. Kiki Bertens, yes, 8.5 right now to win Roland Garros, depending. 8.5 till 11, yes.
Nice. That's a good value then. Okay, so I got a little value there. Okay, so overall, Konta plays well in Rome. She's always played relatively well here. She's not a great clay player, but for whatever reason, she's comfortable in this venue, on this surface, specifically in Rome. I would not take any of her performance here, which has been impressive, and extrapolate it past this week at all. I would expect she's going to be a good fade price in Roland Garros if she can kind of make the final here, which isn't crazy. She could beat Kiki Bertens. I don't love that price on Kiki at all tomorrow. Even rested, Kiki's going to have her hands full with Konta here. That seems like a good overmatch. Maybe that one goes 3 sets. But I think Kiki Mladenovic is going to be your title winner here in Rome.
What do you think, Will? It's very, very weird to see what I'm seeing right now. I'm checking the odds for Roland Garros. I'm seeing Serena Williams at 10 and Naomi Osaka at 15. What is happening, really?
Those are tough. They're tough. Okay, so those big names are going to draw money. People are going to bet them based on name, based on pedigree. Osaka has won 2 slams in a row. Serena has won more slams than anyone else on tour. But I don't think either player really is a threat. I'm not worried about either one. Like if I'm holding
Osaka's game on clay is getting better and better. Osaka's games on clay.
It is, but she's still vulnerable to someone who can defend. So much of her ability to be dominant, same with Serena, is her ability to hit winners. Serena has a little better defense than Osaka, and just in terms of you're going to grade them as tennis players. But both of them rely on being able to come up with that winner when they absolutely need it. That is much tougher on clay. And it is much tougher on clay when you're playing against someone who has spectacular defense like Halep. I think an ideal draw for us is Halep gets to get a crack at Osaka and gets to get a crack at Serena, or those type of players. That's where she thrives.
I love that.
And that's you'll get value betting Halep in those spots. So fingers crossed when we see the draw that we get some of those potential matchups, because I would love Halep in those spots.
Anyway, the best odds for Roland Garros from World Cup or take Kiki Mladenovic at 91 right now, and you can close your bet after 2 rounds.
Unbelievable number. Unbelievable. That should be like 25 or 40 at the worst. 91?
91.
Oh my goodness.
91. Come on.
Oh my goodness.
Put
Have
10
that in your
euros on
pocket
that.
and enjoy that quarterfinal. That is going to be you're going to be feeling great having 91-1 in your pocket when she makes the quarterfinals. That is going to be awesome. Man.
Just
Love
for our friends to know, me basically when I'm betting future markets, I'm putting two bets. One that I can hedge in the quarterfinals or whatever I'm thinking, depending her next match, and one I'm going with it all the way. So depending right now, what's in,
That's great. I like that. Split your stake. One to
split the
cover
stake in
your
two,
one to cover
go all the way.
One to take a little bit of value, and one just in case it actually makes it all the way. That's a great strategy. I love that.
Okay, well, I hope that I will see you next week. You will be on vacation. As we talked, we will preview Roland Garros next week. Future markets, we'll talk a little bit about it today, but more next week. Hopefully, you will have some good internet. I really enjoy talking with you every single time about tennis. You are the legend. Thank you, and enjoy your weekend, man.
You as well. Best of luck, and yeah, great to talk to you again.
Thank you. Bye. So next we have DaveBets, the one and only DaveBets, the king of the UFC, king of the punching parlay. Yes, he started on the left foot the second season of the punching parlay, but don't forget that he's 10-0 in the first one. He got a little bit greedy last week. He went with I don't know his name because I don't know UFC. He went with one guy winning from distance, but the guy won, but on points. And he could easily make money if he wasn't so greedy, if he was going with a straight win of that guy. Isn't it that, Dave?
Yeah, Alex, you're right, mate. I definitely could have just took the win. The odds would have been 1.83 decimal if I'd have just took the win.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I really didn't think BJ Penn had it in him to survive. And anybody who watched the fight could clearly see that BJ Penn was done. Going into the third round, he was out on his feet. He was seeing stars for the whole of that round. But unfortunately, because Clay was an aging old fighter himself, when he had got into that final 5 minutes, he'd also lost a lot of his cardio and a lot of his gas had been pumped away in them first two rounds. So if you were watching that fight, you can hear his dad and his coach telling him to stop wrestling and to finish the fight. Stop wrestling, finish the fight. That's all they were shouting at him, because everyone can see from the outside that BJ Penn is done and he's ready to be finished. But he didn't get it done. We lost our first parlay. But
yeah, it's a shame, man. I was from the second. I think that from the second edition of the first episode, I went every week with your parlays, and I did it also last week. And when I saw in the morning, because I was not staying all night long to watch the fights, but I said Dave was greedy. So yeah, but I'm hoping that we will take it back this week with another round of some your beautiful parlays, because you're still the punching parlay legend here. But an interesting fight this Saturday, UFC Fight Night 152. Main event, interesting main event. I will let you talk because you know me, I don't have nothing to do with this sport. Rafael Don Anjos and Kevin Lee going together. Don Anjos has thought at his weight for the last 2 years. Kevin Lee steps up a weight class for the first time in UFC. How do you think that the extra weight will affect Lee here?
It's gonna go one way or the other. We're gonna see a guy come in and look great, who has found the weight class that he needs, and he's gonna put on a great performance, or it's gonna just go straight to the opposite end of the scale, and we're gonna see a guy who is carrying too much weight. His cardio is gonna drop, and that could cause him potential problems towards the end of the fight. See, his opponent, Rafael dos Anjos, he has a kryptonite, and his kryptonite is a wrestler. He has lost his previous 2 fights versus tough wrestlers, and that's exactly what Kevin Lee is. But as you stated before, he is coming up a weight class, and now there's a bunch of unknowns that, as a bettor and as a gambler, this is the type of fight that you should either be putting a small half unit on, unit max, or just the best advice from me as a handicapper would be to avoid this fight. Funnily enough, I say that, but I was I'm not going to go into detail, but the other day I bet on this main event, and I've taken Rafael dos Anjos at 1.91, just based on the unknowns coming from Kevin Lee. I can't see Kevin coming in here and dominating the wrestling for every single round. So based on that, I think Kevin could win a round or two, but with depleted gas and not much cardio after the different weight class, I feel that Rafael will have the advantage, and there's a possibility he could get a finish as well.
So 1.91 for Rafael dos Anjos. Very interesting main event there. Going further, rematch between Ladd and Eubanks. Do you think that it will end differently this time? Ladd was able to get the TKO finished in the first match when they fought in Invicta 2 years ago. Do you think that it will happen the same in this one?
I'm not sure. The first match they had actually went to a decision. It was a decision victory for Aspen Ladd. I'd say she deserved the decision, and it was a clear decision victory in my eyes, in my opinion. Since her fight, she has came into the UFC and she has beat 2 tough women, and she has knocked them both out. Not much has changed. It's only been 2 years since their last fight. The main thing that has changed is Aspen Ladd has been fighting in the UFC, whilst Eubanks has been fighting in Invicta. 2 total different organizations with 2 total different levels of competition. Aspen is going to win this fight again. This time round, there's a good chance she could get the knockout, but I'd still stick with the decision victory again, and I think we see an exact repeat of the first fight. I'm very high on Aspen Ladd. If you go onto oddsmarket.com and check out some of the long life articles on there about up and coming fighters, you'll see an article, and I'm all over Aspen Ladd because I think she has the potential to be a future champion in the bantamweight division.
Okay, that's wonderful. Another article that you are writing week in and week out, the underdogs and their odds. Who is your favorite underdog on tomorrow's card?
I'm glad you've brought this up, Alex, because from a betting perspective, if you look at this card and you know martial arts and you know MMA and UFC, you will know that betting on this card is highly risky, just because the odds. In fact, last week I was talking to Natalie and I was bashing the odds makers for how, for how dodgy they can be when dishing out these lines.
For how crazy they are or how they are stupid they are, depending.
Yeah. Maybe they heard me. Maybe I don't know. But this week, everything is on point, in my opinion, other than one fight, which would be Ian Heinisch versus Antonio Carlos Jr. Shoeface, his nickname, Antonio Carlos Jr., I think is a lot of people overrate him. I think he's quite one-dimensional, and unless he gets a finish by submission, I don't really think he's going to win this fight. Ian Heinisch is an up-and-comer. He hasn't got the same experience that Antonio has, but he certainly has that dogfight in him, and his price at 2.75, it just all the other odds made sense to me, but this was the one fight that just stood out when I was looking at that card before handicapping and watching all the fight tape. that just, it was one of them numbers that just it just didn't make much sense for me. Now obviously Ian only has one loss on his record, and that came by submission, which is risky because Antonio is he specializes in Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
So yeah, it is that does worry me. But if you take a look back in Ian's fights on the ground, some of the transitions and the movement that he has on the ground isn't bad at all, and it's really good, if not just on the same level as Antonio. Call me crazy, but yeah. And when we're talking about underdogs on this card, Ian Heinisch is the only underdog I could pick, Alex, to be fair. I could not find anybody else who was even worth the risk. It's not. Nah, it's not a card the underdogs did.
I cannot call you crazy, mate. I cannot call you crazy because you are eating, sleeping, and whatever you're doing, thinking about UFC, fighting, and everything what you're doing an amazing job capping this sport. There are not many people who are capping the same way, and I really appreciate a good capper when I see one. This is why I hate most of the people who are capping 10 sports in the same time. It's just so unfair to see that happening. I'm doing my best with football, and from time to time I'm going with tennis, but that's about it. And you're doing the same with the UFC, with MMA, and you're doing an amazing thing. Lately, I saw you capping also some football championship. I don't know. I didn't check a lot of the action going on that field because I'm sticking with your UFC and nothing else. Just for the finish of the show, please tell us your punching parlay and total odds on, and how many units we are going to put this week on that.
Sure, buddy. Yeah, and speaking about handicapping multiple sports, there's a saying over here in England that you're a jack of all trades but a master of none. And personally, I would rather be a master at one thing than try and put my fingers in everything else. I try to learn about all sports, and I enjoy all sports. But when it comes down to giving advice to people where to put their money, I'm not going to be advising people unless I'm putting that money on myself, and that's been heavily researched and heavily handicapped. It's just not going to happen, mate. So yeah, I fully agree on that. But yeah, so we'll wrap it up. The punch and parlay this week will be Megan Anderson or Megan Anderson, depending on what part of the world you come from. And she's coming in, I got her at 1.73 on the decimal, minus 137 for the Americans. And she might have dropped slightly, but I don't think I expected her odds to go down quite a bit, but they haven't. So I think you can get her for around a similar price now. See, I'm taking these odds at the start of the week, so they might be slightly different. And then the second leg of the parlay is Davi Ramos, and he was considerably lower in the odds. He was 1.29. But when we combine them together, we get a nice price of 2.23 plus 125. And I'll be staking another 1.5 units this week. But you know, just stake accordingly to whatever your bankroll is or how much money you have. Just always stake accordingly. You don't have to copy exactly what we're doing on the punch and parlay or at Oddsmarket. You can do your own bankroll and figure out your finances yourself.
Everybody has his way of doing it. Yeah, we're doing units. Some of us have bigger money in terms of units. I personally have 50 euros one unit. I'm not going further than that because I have a family and a daughter, and I'm going just for 2 vacations per year. This is my target. Eat exactly what you need. Don't eat more, you know. So yeah, 2 vacations per year is my objective every season with football, and I have that covered for this one and more than that. Just one question before I let you go. In the first season of the punching parlay, you went with 1 unit per week. Now you are going with 1.5 units per week. Why is that?
Do you know what? I was thinking about this the other day, and I was waiting for someone to question me on it or highlight it. And to be quite honest, there is actually there's no solid reason for me to be doing this, other than I have the confidence in myself to take this Punch and Parlay season 2 and end up with just as much profit as season 1, if not more, even if we end up with a couple of losses this time around. I feel like I can, I definitely feel like I can take the winning pot to a new level this time around. So, but like I said before,
I'm pretty confident that you will bounce back from the first week with a bad result, and I'm pretty confident that there are 10 episodes also this season, and I hope that the last is not the last episode, and at least it's just a beginning for a great friendship between you, UFC, and Oddsmarket, and hopefully it will not end like Game of Thrones, like the last season of the Game of Thrones, very, very bad. Just that's it for this week. Next week is a break on UFC. You are also on vacation, on well-deserved vacation for you and your family. See you in 2 weeks from now, and best of luck with your bets this week with a crazy card, but I think that you did your homework already. Take care and have a great week, Dave.
Thank you, Alex. Great job, buddy.
Thank you. Okay, now one of my very good friends, very good friends.
Just kidding with you, Dave. Just kidding with
master
you.
of esports, master. How should I call you? Master, Kung Fu King, Panda. How should I call you?
Call me Supreme Master First Class Diamond level. These are just gamer terms. No, you can also call me noob or rookie.
Father of dragons. How
you just had to bring the Game of Thrones up, didn't you, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely, always. Yeah, very bad last season. Anyway, we are not talking Game of Thrones today. We are talking Counter-Strike, and we are talking a very important, not so important. You specified also in your article, is not one of the biggest events in Counter-Strike, Dreamhack Tours. I mentioned a few days ago to you when we were talking on Skype that when I was young, at my 18, 20, so 20 years ago, I was playing Counter-Strike with my friends. So I was saying to you that I was pressing B42, take my favorite weapon and go shoot some. Now, after 20 years, I see people playing for money, and most of all, I see people making money betting on this game. Incredible how far we arrived in 20 years.
Yeah.
And how many stuff will happen in the next 20 years. I think that it will be unbelievable. Tell us more about this tournament that is going on this weekend, Dreamhack Tours Counter-Strike Go.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like you said, it's not the biggest tournament. It's not the most hyped. The pool of teams are all kind of hovering around that maybe 10th in the best in the world to 30th. Most of them are around there. But again, the biggest tournaments, there's maybe 6 to 8 of them throughout the calendar year. So we can't be too snobby when it comes to choosing where we find betting opportunities. And I like fields like this one because there's no clear favorite. And so if we can find an edge on the form of a team coming in or on a line that sort of undervalues a dog, which is very frequent, we get some opportunities. So yeah, and it's
This
just a
is
short
what,
one too. So what's that?
Please continue. I wanted to ask you something. I thought that you were talking about the underdogs. I thought that is also like in football when some teams are not taking some tournaments in consideration and they are going with their B side or they are not playing at their best level. This is why I wanted to ask you if there is a huge value on the underdog this week, because if it's not an important tournament, or everybody can go with the underdogs and make a profit. This is how it is in football. If that big name Juventus, let's say, is playing, like it was with Europa League, second tier competition after Champions League, Arsenal and Chelsea were going with their big squads. So, because they were considering Europa League less important than Champions League. This is how it goes also in esports.
So, for the best teams that get invited to loads of tournaments, yes, definitely. For the field of teams that's at this tournament in particular, like a G2 or Mouse Sports, they do get a lot of invites. So to them, it's not as big of a deal. And for the smaller teams, this is their major. This is their big tournament, because we're not going to see them at, Cologne or Katowice or, Sydney, Dallas, all the big locations that are coming up. So that esports has that. It doesn't mean a CSGO team doesn't have substitute players where they'll put the B squad in, but we will see teams practice less for smaller tournaments. In particular, this morning, actually, so I had a play on a team called Ghost, and Ghost is from the States, and it was announced this morning that one of their players got lost in transit. Not lost, but he had some troubles traveling. And so the coach actually had to play. And thankfully, Ghost still covered my handicap bet. But looking at them tomorrow, there is almost no value on them, because in a team of 5 players, if one of your players is not a professional, and even if he's played kind of near a professional level, or he knows how to communicate well with the team, his aim ability and his sort of chemistry is still going to be off against a team that has all 5 players at 100%. So that was one of the plays I've looked at for tomorrow. But yeah, there is less focus on some teams coming in. Today we saw the 2 teams that looked the best. I'd say Valiance. They beat my sort of prop bet on Wendigo. They looked really good on Mirage. And then they upset Mouse Sports on Dust 2. Valiance got 2 great maps there. They won, I think, 3, if not all 4 pistol rounds, which kind of gives them an economic advantage at the beginning. And they looked really good. But again, they might be a little bit overrated going into the semifinals tomorrow. So you kind of got to take it as each matchup comes along. I can't hear you, Alex.
Okay, sorry, it was from my end. So as you said, there is in the smaller tournaments, there is huge value on the underdogs. Do you think that one of the underdogs will win the tournament, or still one of the big names will win the tournament?
Yeah, so the two under how the tournament works is tomorrow morning. There's 2 favorites in Wendigo and G2 playing against a team called Instinct and Ghost. Now, Instinct, I saw this morning play, and they looked absolutely terrible. Probably the worst team here by a long stretch. So I've sort of mentally already counted them out. I've already bet against them. I took Wendigo to 2-0 them at 1.6, which is a bit chalky. It's not exactly a great price, but it's still value in my eyes because of how poor that team is compared to their opponent. The other play I took for tomorrow's match was G2 to 2-0 Ghost, and Ghost is the player that's playing with their coach. Even if they get their normal player in tomorrow, which I believe they said he's not going to attend the whole tournament. I still don't see that as playing Ghost as a good price, because they just look bad, the other 4 players. I mean, they did cover against Avantgarde today, but that was mostly on Avantgarde sort of slowing down. So then I would say there's only one team that's sort of a certain underdog left. It's a team called French Frogs, and they'll play the winner of G2 and Ghost tomorrow. it should be G2, which would mean it's a rematch of the best of one. If French Frogs is as big of an underdog as they were in the opener today, I will be looking to take French Frogs either to take a map or maybe moneyline if the moneyline's good enough. G2 is their French domestic rivals. These teams know each other, and it's like in your own domestic leagues. Even though one team might have a better standard internationally, they might have a better set of awards or results, because they play so regularly locally, there's no intimidation factor, and the players are used to playing even the better players, so they kind of have an edge mentally as well. So French Frogs have played with most of the G2 players, and certainly against them many times. So if the price is good enough there, I will be looking to take French Frogs. But all depends on the line, as always. That's the first thing I focus on. Yeah, French Frogs.
French Frogs. I hear so many names from you every time I'm watching the videos when I'm talking with you on Skype, because we're talking a lot. And yeah, I wanted to say also about
Alex,
the odds of 1.6.
I was going to add to that. French Frogs, they're not a real organization. So these are players that have just continued playing together. And this is kind of what adds value to them, because you think G2, that's one of the premier esports organizations in the world. They've got millions of dollars backing them. They've got multiple coaches, analysts, psychologists. And then you've got French Frogs, who they don't even have a team logo. Okay, so when the public sort of looks at it, they think, oh, easy G2 victory, which is what they did today, and French Frogs won in overtime. So, yeah. So, anyways, what were you going to say next? Sorry.
I was saying about the odds of 1.6, and if you remember, we talked about the odds 2 weeks ago on our usual Skype meetings, weekly Skype meetings, and you were saying that if you think that 1.6 is a valuable odd in that specific match, take it, because it doesn't matter that is very, very small. It still has value, and it still brings you a profit. This is why also you, also me, we are playing many matches. We're betting many matches week in and week out. Me, this season, I have around 1,000 bets on football. I'm around 80 units on profit, which I think that is amazing after a season only in one sport. I know that you're keeping track of all your bets, and I don't know if you had a losing month still this season, which is absolutely amazing for betting on esports, because I think that betting on esports is one of the hardest things to do, because it's most of all you have to look at the screen and see a match of, I don't know, a game. It's not in real life, you know. I know that the players.
My girlfriend calls she calls Dota the ant game, because she's like, I can't understand what's even happening. It's so tiny. Like, what's going on the screen?
Yeah, no, I know also Dota, I know also League of Legends, I know also Counter-Strike. I used to play Counter-Strike, but Dota and League of Legends, I have very good friends that are still playing right now. I have one of my best friends who is still playing Dota and League of Legends at 38, 39, and he's not, he's good, but I don't think that he has a team. He's investing a lot of money in playing these games, and I really don't understand why. But maybe other people don't understand why I have 4 or 5 screens in my home and I'm watching 4 or 5 matches in the same time and betting on them. That's what we do. This is what we are here for, to bring you guys the best value bets and from our sports, and because Adam is very knowledgeable in esports and in hockey, in NHL. He's here week in and week out. What's happening next week? When we will see you next week, and what we are talking about next week?
I think there's there's always this. I think there's another CSGO line coming up next week. Yeah, there's the it's CS Summit. That's what it is in Los Angeles. That one's a small one as well. After that, we've got Dreamhack Masters Dallas. Then we've got a Dota Major next month.
You have next week Dota 2 Epicenter Major, as I see.
I don't know if I don't think there's anything to bet on. No, I think it's ESL Birmingham. Is that the one you think? ESL Birmingham begins May 28th.
Yeah, and I was looking at your schedule and I saw Dota 2 Epicenter Major next week, but we will talk after the show about that. Anyway,
sure.
See you next week for another round of esports bets. Top bets of this day of many matches I think that are happening also later on.
Yeah, so my 2 for tomorrow, Wendigo to beat Instinct 2-0 at 1.6, and G2 to beat Ghost 2-0 at 1.53. They're heavy favorites, but I still think there's value on there, and you can catch live odds on them. So if they do drop a map or get a spread covered, they're behind early, you can catch them live, which I will be tweeting out if I jump on them.
Awesome stuff. Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you, much appreciated. Every single time we are talking, and see you next week for another round of esports bets. And please check out Adam on Twitter, and check all of us out on Twitter on Oddsmarket at Oddsmarket, and see our brilliant articles and many previews, video previews, and so on. Thank you, Adam, once again, and see you next week.
See you later, buddy. Yeah, bye.
Thank you, bye. Next, so we have one final segment. This is Eric Kelly, MotoGP and Formula One expert. This week we are previewing MotoGP Le Mans in France. Because we don't have Formula One, but next week he will be back with some Formula One action. So, nice to have you. Thank you for joining, Eric.
How are you, Alex? How are you, man?
All good, all good. Interesting race in Le Mans. I was reading your article a few hours ago because I was trying to do some research for the show. Always very impressive to see your great articles and all the effort that you are putting writing them. What I can see, I was looking just like that on the MotoGP schedule for this season. I'm seeing Marc Marquez, right?
That's it, Marc Marquez.
Marc Marquez, second in Qatar, first in Argentina, first in Spain, and I don't know what happened with him in the Americas, right?
Yeah, he crashed out. He crashed.
He crashed out. Okay. What's next for him? Bugatti Circuit in Le Mans, he's priced at a very small price on him. I don't think that he worth a bet on him. 11 to 13, very small. After that, we have Andrea Dovizioso, 5 to 1. Valentino Rossi, 8 to 1. The doctor there, 8 to 1. Maverick Vinales, 14. Petrucci, 14. Alex Rins, 14 to 1. I think that Alex Rins is one of your favorites, right?
Yeah, he's up and coming, and you can get really good value on him. So it's hard not to back him every week. I was backing him all season. And then the one race I said, do you know what? I won't back him. He goes and wins. So now I'm kind of like, I may keep backing him. I have to. That's just the luck with MotoGP.
I was watching your Twitter the other day, and I saw you complaining that you don't have special bets, special markets for MotoGP. No bookies are offering that. But finally, you discovered someone. I don't know if let's not say a name here, but it's very, very surprising for me that for Formula One we have some special markets, but for MotoGP we don't. Why is that?
My only guess is that they just haven't got enough interest maybe on the sites. They haven't got enough people betting on the MotoGP to bother to do these markets. They'd probably, personally, I think they'd probably make a lot of money because prop bets, you know, only one of them can win and there's 20 riders. If you, just for example, you did first rider to crash, there's 20 riders there, only one of them's going to crash first. Bookies could make the money off the other 19, but I like to have an edge with the prop bets in case the outright winner doesn't click. So I do.
So, so it's time for us to start a bookie and to have some special odds for special markets for MotoGP.
It would be great.
I don't think that is a bad idea. Let's talk about it after the show. So, Le Mans, tell us a little bit about the race. Tell us about the riders a little bit and some key stats and facts and what you're thinking about betting for this circuit.
Yeah, Le Mans is Sunday. It's, for starters, it's a big crash track. A lot of riders seem to crash in this race. I think it has something like, I think it has six DNFs on average. 6 riders usually don't finish the race on average. It usually is raining there because I don't know why. Maybe it rains in France at this time of the year. It's usually wet, but this Sunday it's given a dry race, so it is. Riders that are good at this track is Maverick Vinales. He has a standout record at this track. I think he had one of his first victories at this track. Also, like Rossi, he's finished in the top. I think it's 4. The last 5 races, he's finished in the top 4, or he's finished in the top 4 of his last 5 races. Bar the one race he actually crashed. So Rossi also has form in this track. But if I'm not mistaken, I think Marquez won here last year, so that is a concern again, the dominance of Marquez.
Yeah, you know, the weather is a problem in all Europe right now. The climate changed, and also me here in Romania, where I'm living right now. Last year in April, it was very, very hot. This year in May, it's colder and raining a lot, which is very, very unusual. I was in Austria, in Vienna last weekend for a wedding. From Friday when I left to Monday when I arrived back, it rained continuously, big thunders, big storms. I don't know what is happening. I think that this is happening in all the world, not only in Europe. And
I agree.
One of my friends living in England was called me a few days ago, saying that so hot, it's very hot for this time of the year. So it's unbelievable what is happening. So this is why we have bad weather also in France. And if I remember from your first videos when you were talking with Natalie about the weather, you had planned 2 different kind of bets for wet race and for dry race. You will do the same for this time?
No, not this time. But interestingly, I think it's supposed to rain Saturday, which is when they qualify, but it's supposed to be sunny on Sunday when they race. But they can set up their bikes. They can set their bikes up to be quicker in the rain, if you get me. So
yes,
there could be a surprise rider on pole Saturday if it rains. Could shake up things a little bit for Sunday.
A surprise like the Frenchman Fabio Quartararo.
Yeah, maybe. The problem is, I think there's one bookies I think that offers qualifying markets. I think it's Bet365. I think they're the only bookies that offer qualifying markets, and I don't know what his price is to qualify on pole again, but I can't. It was 40 to 1 last time. That's definitely slashed in half at least. maybe even less.
I don't know what he did in the first 4 races so far. Did he qualify in the first first four, or nothing to do with that?
No, he hasn't qualified well, but has raced well. The very first race, Alex, he got just before the started, he got a penalty. I think he started his bike early, so he got a penalty. So when all the riders took off, he had to take off in the pits, which you have to go slower in the pits. So all the riders got a good 15 seconds on him at the very start of the race, and he ended up finishing 12th. So if he had
in 16 in Qatar
or 16, was it?
Yes.
He finished 16. So if he had actually started with the rest of them, he could have been how quick he was going. He could have been in the top six, like.
Yeah. After that, in Argentine, I don't see him here around.
Crashed. I think he crashed. Did he?
I think that no, in 17 in Argentine. So yeah, not a very good, very hopeful results for him to have pole position here in Le Mans. But yeah, it was a shot on the underdog, because most of the time you like to play the underdogs. You are doing amazingly well in Formula One. Not very successful this time of the year in MotoGP, but impressive in Formula One. I remember in the first race you were 30 and something units of profit. What is happening with MotoGP? What is the difference here?
The main difference is that, first of all, we ain't got no prop bets, so we've nothing to fall back on. And the second is Marquez is just too dominant. You can't bet Marquez every race. If you bet Marquez for 3 races and he wins 3 races and you're up like not even 3 units because his price is so bad,
no,
and then he loses the next 3, you're down money.
Yeah, but at the end of the season, what was the price on Marc Marquez to be champion at the end of the season, to lift the trophy? At the beginning of the season,
I think he was around 1.952.
Don't tell me that. Not even money to lift the title.
Yeah, around that. I think maybe if you're lucky, 2.20, 2.30 if you're lucky, but I think it was less than that.
Oh my god! So no reason to back Marc Marquez. Yeah, because it's stupid to close your money for a whole season. Yes, maybe he will win it because he is the best driver. He's the best racer right now. But unfortunately, I would never close my money on an odd of 1.95 or even money for, I don't know, a whole season of MotoGP. What do you have for us for this race in Le Mans? What do you think it will happen? Does
for Le Mans,
the doctor has any chance to win this race?
I thought he had a really good chance. Check out his form and all, and they just had free practice today, and he was 14th. His chain fell off the bike, just and he's gone. His odds have drifted from 8-1 to what's he now? 12-1. He's gone out to 12-1 now. But we'll have to. It all depends where he qualifies. I have my money on him at 8-1, so I can't budge. But if you could backing him at 12-1 right now could be really good shout, because if he qualifies well, he's definitely going to drift back in. Fabio, I'm going to say Fabio Quartararo, we were just talking about, he's 18-1 to win this race, and I'm having none of that. 18-1 is just an absolute shocking price. I want 30-1 at least, maybe more, maybe 40-1 on this guy. He's good. He's up. He's upcoming. He's home in France. That's probably why his price is so bad. Pole last time, but yeah, I'm staying away from him. but I'll let you know here who I'm officially on. I'm
So you're
officially on
officially on Valentino Rossi, right?
Valentino Rossi. I've worked it out in a way. I usually don't do this for MotoGP, but I think I'm going to start doing this. I've worked it out in a way that I probably should have been doing this from the start of the season. I've worked it out in a way that I've 4 guys bet, and all I need is one of them to win to be up money. So
Okay.
I've 1 unit on Rossi at 8-1. I've 1 unit on Maverick Vinales at 14-1. I've 1 unit on Alex Rins at 14-1. And I have half a unit on Cal Crutchlow at 20-1. That's my best
Oh,
for
I
Le
hope
Mans.
I hope that Alex Rins wins for you this time, or Valentino Rossi. This is what I hope for, because you must bet on him in every race to bring you money for sure. I'm sure that he will. He won 1 race already. He won the Americas GP, and second, it was Valentino Rossi who dominated the last minutes of the race, but after that Rins came inside 1 sec, not even 1 second before Rossi, half of a second there. So hopefully for you, both Rins and Valentino Rossi will fight for the title in Le Mans, and will bring you some profit. Next week we will be back with a very important race, Monaco GP Formula 1 on Thursday this time, not on Friday. So yeah, we kind of moved as because we don't have football no more on Thursday and on Wednesday. The football season is over, and we are doing many other shows instead. So see you on Thursday with the MotoGP, with the Formula 1 from Monaco. Enjoy your weekend, and the best of luck with your bets on the MotoGP Le Mans.
Thanks, Alex. I'll be here Thursday with all the Formula 1 winners.
Okay, thank you guys for watching us. That's it for today. See you next week, but not with me as a host. Natalie is back from vacation next week, so we will enjoy her incredible hosting, and see you for some football bets next week with Natalie as a host, and Flash, I think that will host some of the shows. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and best of luck with your bets.